All right, Shalom. Giving all praises, all glory, all honors unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Makah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops, the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 rest of the hopeful elect out there. This is your brother, the priest, Desire Warren from GMS Atlanta. Back with another edifying video. More catastrophic destruction, more judgment, that is happening here in America. These different storms that have been, just in the past week, that have been, destroying different cities and states around the country. There was a major storm, a major flood, flash floods that killed hundreds in Texas this past week. You also had major earthquakes, hundreds of earthquakes. Yeah, damn near 1,000 earthquakes had struck over in Japan. Earthquakes in California, earthquakes in the Middle East. There were also storms that rainfall and floods that hit North Carolina. Oh, excuse me. And now you have, it says here, at least 3 killed amid historic flash flooding in wildfire-scarred New Mexico town. So it says flood waters surged over 20 feet in minutes Tuesday, sweeping away homes and prompting urgent search and rescue operations. So there's plagues that are hitting Babylon the Great. And these plagues, these storms are coming from the Lord, ultimately from the Lord. And there's a video here. This video shows the terrifying moment a house was washed away by violent flood waters in the middle of torrential rainfall in Ruidoso, New Mexico, on July 8th. So last week and this week, it says search and rescue operations were still underway Wednesday morning after catastrophic flash flooding swept through Ruidoso, New Mexico, killing 3 people, including 2 children, and destroying homes and vehicles, leaving a tourist-dependent mountain town once again in crisis. It says the flood hit fast around 2 p.m. So here it is, you're at school, you're at work, you got an hour or 2 or 3 before you get off, hour or so before the kids get out of school, and it starts storming, and then it's flooding. So either they're stuck at home, you're stuck away from your kids, you're trying to rush to get to them, they're stuck at school, you at work. The roads are in chaos. It's flooding. I'm not sure how big this town is, but I just gave an average scenario of what could happen. It says Tuesday, heavy rain began falling just west of Ruidoso, including directly over the burn scar from last year's South Fork fire. Right, in that region, California, New Mexico, is heavily prone to different fires. And this is according to AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish. The National Weather Service issued a rare flash flood emergency Tuesday, warning of a dangerous situation and urging residents to seek higher ground now. And so that would have to be an unusual occurrence. Here it is. There was just last year forest fires, and now it's flooding. So there has to be the angels working. Now we know that we have information, about how Esau uses these different HARP programs and weather modification, things like that. And that could be the case. I think there's been some reports on that. But at the end of the day, when somebody dies or somebody is burnt up or washed away by water, or whatever the judgment is ultimately the judgment from the Lord. About 2.5 inches of rain fell rapidly, triggering a violent surge of runoff into the Rio Ruidoso. The river rose more than 19 feet in less than an hour. Oh, yeah, so that was devastating. And ultimately crested a record-breaking 24 feet, 5 feet higher than the previous record from last year of 15.86 feet, Cornish said. In fact, the river gauge spike was the highest since data began in 1978. This was a devastating flood event, Cornish said. With the river rising that quickly and the terrain shaped by previous wildfires, you have a worst-case combination of rainfall intensity and runoff. So hey, that was, Yahweh Bashmian was shy, bringing out these judgments, okay? And I've been bringing out this precept a lot lately, but it's just fitting. It's just fitting. See, this just shows you that, the word of the Lord is precise. It says, thou shalt be visited, and this is Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. So that region seen those tempests and it's seen the devouring fire. The forest fires or wildfires. So that has to be from the power of the Lord. Okay. Now, this next article here, this is from USA Today. And it says Mount Ranier is rattled by more than 300 earthquakes. It's the largest swarm in years. So what I've noticed is in these regions in the west of the U.S. and the Far East region, which is the Pacific Ring of Fire region of the planet Earth, certain places are getting hundreds of earthquakes in a small amount of time. It says the last large earthquake swarm at Mount Rainier occurred in 2009. During that time, more than 1,000 earthquakes rattled the volcano. And Mount Rainier is a volcano. A matter of fact, it might be near. I'll have to look it up if it's near. What was the last? That it was the early '80s. Where it was a major volcano eruption. I know the name, it just escapes my mind, but I'll if I think of it, I'll mention it, or someone can put it on the comment board. That major earthquake eruption, volcano eruption in the West back in the early 80s. So it says more than 300 earthquakes have erupted at Washington's Mount Rainier this week, the largest earthquake swarm at the volcano since 2009. And I just read the scripture, Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with earthquake. Right? Earthquakes. Yahweh said that there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, different places. As of Thursday, July 10th, 334 earthquakes have been identified at Mount Rainier by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Cascades Volcano Observatory Public Information Officer Holly Weiss-Racine told USA Today the swarm, a cluster of earthquakes occurring in the same area in rapid succession, began in the early morning of Tuesday, July 8th. So this week here in America, especially out west, so Texas and Washington and California, there's a lot of so-called natural disasters taking place, which is the power of the Lord. That's what's natural. Scientists do not have any concerns about the earthquakes, the Cascades Volcano Observatory states. The largest so far was recorded at a magnitude of 2.3 on Wednesday, July 9th. But this is what they don't understand. What they're not understanding is these quakes are a sign of the return of the Messiah. See, and that's why the scriptures speak on these quakes. Okay? Let's go to Mark the 13th chapter. And I'll get straight to the point. This is Mark 13:8. And it says the same thing as it says in Matthew 24, Luke 21, but we got to read out the book of Mark sometimes. All right? So it says so this is Mark 13:8. It says, "For nations shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom," and that's self-explanatory. You should know what that means. "And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places." Right? A diversity amount of earthquakes in a diverse amount of places, different places. "And there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows." Right? Well, let's look up this word sorrow, because, like I said, these are part of the plagues coming to America. Okay? And it's under the will of the Lord. So the Greek word here is odin, which is what? The pain of childbirth, travail, pain, birth pains. Right? So just like when a woman is getting ready to give birth, and she's starting to have her contractions, and they start off at maybe hours away, then eventually gets to minutes away, and then it closes down until it's ready for until the womb is ready to give birth to the child, and the child comes out. Well, that's the type of evil that the Lord is bringing on the society. Okay, let's read 2. It says, "Intolerable anguish." So that's what's coming. See, this is why when you hear us preach and we do these videos and we speak about the coming destruction, the nuclear missiles, the bad times to come, that is in reference to the prophecies telling you that an evil time is coming. It says intolerable anguish in reference to the dire calamities. Precede the advent of the Messiah. Right? So, like I said, when you read about this, and they're saying that they don't, they don't have any concerns, they should. Yeah, out there in Camp Mystic, record floods in a short amount of time. Out there in North Carolina. So what is the signs that are occurring? It's signs that the Messiah, the advent of the Messiah, is at hand soon. Okay? So that's it. I just wanted to speak on these articles. The flood waters, the hundreds of earthquakes that hit in Mount Ranier. Matter of fact, let's look up where Mount Ranier is. I think it's in Washington. Yeah, a volcanic peak in southwestern Washington State. Excuse me. When I heard of this mountain, I heard of this. I keep forgetting. Matter of fact, what was the? I'll look it up. Let me see. Volcano eruption. It's right in my head, but I can't bring it out. Was it 1980 in the U.S.? Right, Mount St. Helens. Okay, 1980. I knew it was 1980. I knew it was a volcano. I just couldn't think of the name. 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. So, with those earthquakes around that region, what if the Lord is preparing for another earthquake? I'm sorry, another volcanic eruption. Okay. And guess what? That was also in Washington. And that was heavy devastation, man. Heavy devastation. Okay. Matter of fact, let me close out with one more precept, because all of this is a sign of the things to come. So this is the book of Joel, chapter 2. Joel, chapter 2 and 30, the day of the Lord. It says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth," right? So wonders in the earth, earthquakes, different storms, hurricanes, blood and fire, and pillars of smoke. So, hey, we're due for a volcanic eruption, pillars of smoke. And the ultimate pillar of smoke is going to be the destruction of Babylon the Great. But before that, you're going to have these eruptions take place. Verse 31, "The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come." And we've also had these different eclipses occur. You had a major solar and lunar eclipse in April around the time of, in March and April around the time of Passover this year. Matter of fact, on the night of Passover. So what's to come to this place? Prophetic events are happening. Verse 32, "And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh," and since the name of the Yahweh is only known to the Israelites, then only the Israelites are part of that whosoever that can call on the name. So this is speaking about whosoever of all people on the planet Earth. Okay? It says, "And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered." So that's the salvation that the Messiah is supposed to bring. These signs are a sign that the advent of the Messiah is near. "For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance." And it's speaking about the people before it's a place. So the people are going to be delivered. So you have to be an Israelite. "As the Lord Yahweh hath said, and in the remnant, the elect, whom the Lord Yahweh shall call." And who is going to do the delivering? The Messiah, Yahweh Shai, who the word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. His true name is Yahweh Shai. The true name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. His son's name is, the only begotten son's name is Yahweh Shai. Yahweh means he to be or he exists. Yahweh Shai means he delivered or he saves. So with that, I'm going to close out. I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.